Hello, and welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nunn, an online radio show and podcast focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We're here to give you an honest opinion, different perspective, and hopefully a few laughs. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on our chat room, via our Facebook page, and of course, on Twitter. Keep it funky. Oh yeah, keep it funky. That's what I'm talking about. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nunn, episode 143, rocking it here on the 18th of October, 10/18/18, if you were to put the date in a regular format. And I couldn't play the sexy intro. I could not play the sexy intro when I got my good buddy filling in tonight for Toby, another brother from another mother, a longtime friend. You see him to my side there, to my right, your right, my left, Doug, the Shard Mullen from Gear for Grunts. I said Gear for Grunt. I got to change your. I put your thing down at Gear for Grunt. Hey, Doug, how you doing?
Looks like that.
Yeah.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. How are you doing, sir?
Good. We haven't seen each other literally physically in a few months. I think it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know that lake that you drive by on the way to my house that had like some islands in it?
Yeah.
That there's no longer islands in it. It's 142% full now.
I heard you've gotten a lot of rain down in Austin. I heard
not just here, but up in the Highland Lakes, because the Lake Travis is fed, by the Colorado River and other dams upstream. So they're getting a lot of rain up there. So there's like they have the gates open, have four of the gates open, so they're actually releasing water, but it's still filling up, and we're getting more rain tonight. So I don't know.
Wow.
So, but we're good. We're up on strategic high ground here at
you've secured
Mullen.
You've secured the high ground.
Yep, it's key terrain.
Yes,
it's part of Ocoka.
That's right. Yeah, well, I'd heard about that, but different from quite a difference from a couple years ago. I remember being there, and that lake was almost dried up to a puddle. I remember the piers and the stuff like sticking out just over dirt. Like if you jumped off the end of the pier, you'd probably break your leg. And that was, 2-3 years ago, max.
Yeah, and they were finding, it got so bad. We had about a 7-year drought from like 2008 to 2015-ish. And they were finding cars because the water they were finding all kinds of stuff. Like people drove into the lake for insurance claims and fraud.
So they're finding all the cars and stuff?
They were finding cars, getting the VINs out, going, oh, yeah. So
nice.
they were finding all kinds of stuff. But, so this is a good time to drive your car into the lake. Not that I'm advocating that, but this will be a good time. You at least get away for a couple years.
A couple years before it dries up. Hey, wow, man! We welcome everyone joining the show. I'm looking at the chat room. Hold on, Doug. I got this hot chick named Stacy asked me when I'm coming back to Texas. I got the hook up there. I don't know who that is, but hey, Miss Stacy, I don't know when I'm coming back, but I'll let you know, girl.
I want to meet her after the show.
I bet you will. Bet you will. But no, welcome, Gene, Mom, Dad, Stacy. I see people all jumping in.
I'm Mrs. Stewart.
Yeah. So everyone, welcome again, October 18th. This year's just flying by. Doug is filling in. Toby is off in Cabo, San Lucas, taking a veteran. It's a tough job he's got taking these vets.
My heart's bleeding for him right now.
The dude works his butt off, no doubt. He gets a lot of weekends away. He does not get a lot of time at home, but he is. And so it is hard to feel sorry for him. But when you see how hard he works, it's like, man,
yeah.
Dude, but yeah, he is in Cabo taking a veteran on a probably a life-changing fishing expedition that is just awesome and changing and probably something the guy or girl will never forget. But yeah, so he's off doing that. Doug is as he's done a number of times but besides being a guest, is stepping into to be on. And look at it, got the Texas blend whiskey. I have turned people onto that. I brought a bottle of that back to a good friend of mine, a good friend I was hunting with last weekend. I brought him a bottle of that because he had heard about it, and I said, I know right where to get it from. I said, he goes, have you ever seen this before? And before I came down to Austin a month or two ago, and I was like, yep, I know where to get that from. And I personally brought him, hand carried it back. So anyways, it's good stuff. But anyways, so yeah, Doug's with me tonight, October 18th. Doug and I were talking over the last few days, about what we're going to talk about. And it wasn't much different than when Toby and I talk about it. And we just said, let's watch the news. Let's give it a day. Whatever's hot on Monday, it'll be different on Tuesday, different on Wednesday. So probably whatever's hot on Thursday, and maybe a little bit of what came out Wednesday is what we'll talk about, because we have some phenomenal guests we're working up. I have one I'm trying to work that is, I don't want to divulge it because I don't want to jinx it. But let me just say this, Doug. You don't even know about this. A walking piece of history that we are working on. We've had Lauren F. Bruner on, of course, one of the last six
Arizona.
people off of the USS
Yeah.
Arizona. A handful of advisors or survivors. This gentleman we're working on is at that level, if not more. And really excited to get him on. Obviously up in age, and we are working that one. I could not schedule him without Toby. I had to have Toby here. He would never forgive me if I scheduled without him a chance. But we're hoping to have him on the next week or two. But literally, I can't wait till we confirm him in so I can announce it. But it is going to be an episode and a show that if you're watching or listening to this, you are going to want to let everyone know about, because it'll be probably the last, if not only, time you'll ever hear from someone that participated in the events that he participated in. So
wow, excellent.
I can't tease it much more than that, but
I was gonna say.
yeah, and so we got that. I keep waiting on President Trump to want to call into the show, which would be off the hook, But I think we need to be sponsored by Fox because he does call in there a lot. But I would that would be off the hook too. But no, not yet. We're still working that one. But and I say that, but I'm not joking. Toby and I have been working that one before, actually, while he was running as a candidate. So we do have connections. Really, Toby does. I'm not.
He's the most well-connected man I know.
You know it. I'm just the tech guy. So, anyways, and speaking of tech guy and great people, I want to recognize our sponsors. Of course, I am wearing one of my favorite Enlisted 9 Fight Company shirts. Right here, you can see it right there. This is special to me because obviously we're sponsored by Enlisted 9. They give us a lot of swag. I mean, we have a lot of shirts. You notice every week we're changing, and that's part of because they're our sponsor, so we're promoting their product. But this one was purchased for me. It was purchased for me by Toby as a Christmas gift last year because I really liked it. It wasn't in the listing of ones that we were going to get, and Toby knew I liked it, and the quote on the back and everything. So he bought it for me as a gift. So it means a lot. So that's kind of why I'm wearing it tonight, since he isn't here. And then so Enlisted 9, yes, Toby, Enlisted 9, and then of course Road Armor. You see their logo over there above Doug. Another great sponsor of the show. Check them out if you're looking for some 4-wheel drive. It's things to jack up your truck or Jeep or whatever. You want some awesome looking sturdy bumpers to push hippies off the road. You need a winch to winch someone out of a hurricane or a flood or something like that. Or you just want to really make your vehicle look awesome. Road Armor's the ones to talk to. They have nationwide distributors, and including internationally in Canada. They have distributors all over the place. They are made in the great state of Texas, up there in Dallas. And all that. So that's another great sponsor. Enlisted 9 Fight Company. Remember, Enlisted 9 Fight Company is now teamed up with E9 Apparel, and they are now part of E9, and so we're proud about that. And we'll actually be getting new shirts and new stuff that for part of their new line. So I want to again thank them, and of course, our kind of pseudo sponsors,
wannabe, like aspiring sponsor,
like Gear for Grunts. If you see on Doug's shirt, the ramp. Gear for Grunts, which I like that. I don't have one of those yet, but I'm sure I'll have one soon.
Well,
so the ramp and Gear for Grunts is another great one. And of course, as you know, there's no shortage of Doug showing it off with it in his Vanna White. But you should have had Stacy in the background, like doing the Vanna White thing, showing it and all that kind of
stuff. She's pretty good at selling these things to SWAT guys, so I can't complain. She's pretty awesome.
But so and then the number of not only sponsors but good friends of ours, but really nonprofits and places like Sheepdog Response by Tim Kennedy, of course, the Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, Gina Lisa's Pin Up for Vets, Lauren F. Bruner Foundation. I mean, no shortage. Veteran Outdoors, right? And of course, I got my VO hat on, so. We are a lot of folks that we support and like, and hope that you support and like. And I have people, Doug, ask me. I have actually coworkers of mine that ask me, "Hey, I try to give every year around Christmas to a nonprofit, and a military nonprofit. And now that people that I work with and been working with the last several years, they come to me and say, "What's a good one to give to?" and it's awesome to be in that position. And I feel like
Yeah, and
God has put me there to say, they're like, hey, we trust you. We know you're tied into the community. What is a good nonprofit to give to? And I kind of go through a listing of them. There's so many. I wish we could give to all of them. There's some that aren't too good that I would not suggest or recommend. But there's a number of them that I sit there and go, here's what these guys do, and this one does, and so on and so forth. And I kind of lay it out and kind of find out what's near and dear to their heart. And then they usually go off and do it. And they're like, hey, I made a contribution. I did this. I'm like, awesome. Like that's kind of why we do this.
Yeah, that's awesome that you're in that position to speak with authority, for that type of thing. That's awesome.
Yeah, I want to welcome Mandy to the show. Hey, Mandy, and John Kaiser. And, man, we just folks tuning in. So, again, I got Doug with me tonight from Gear for Grunts, and Toby's off doing VO stuff. But, Doug, so we have, like I said a few minutes ago, there's no shortage.
I tell you what,
things to talk
about. The content floweth like the Colorado River through the Mansfield Dam as I speak right now. Not too far from here. So.
You know what it reminds me of? I remember back when President Trump came down that escalator when he to announce his candidacy. Do you remember when all the late night talk show hosts like lost their mind? They were all excited because he was running. Remember, they all thought they were going to have fodder, right? And the Colbert's and the I don't know who the other ones are. What's the other doofballs' names? Whatever. All those different late night guys I don't even watch anymore.
Yeah, I never watched.
But they were all like, "Oh, please run! Oh, it's gonna be great. We're gonna have so much content while you do it." Because like he was gonna be such a big doof.
Yes.
I kind of feel that way now, but glad that he won, because I feel that if he hadn't won and Hillary had won, we would be really struggling to talk about a lot of stuff. Like, I don't feel that it would be as transparent. We definitely wouldn't be have a president or administration that is as lively, I guess you could say,
energetic
and full and always producing content to talk about. It would be we'd come to some of these shows and we'd be like, well, it's another week. They're not telling us anything, and guess what? There was she won free and clear, and wow, we're really helping out Russia a lot, and everything she does is great. Everyone would be in love with her. I'm glad he's won because he gives us stuff to talk about.
Absolutely.
We don't have guests.
It's fantastic.
So
I think that the best thing I like about him is kind of, you touched on it, he's just like this Xeon light that wherever he goes, he just exposes nonsense and BS and corruption, whether it's Democrats or Republicans or whatever. That's my favorite part about him. He's just like this.
When you said Xeon light, I thought you were speaking. I thought you were talking about like one of them bug lights. Like he's one of these bug lights that the liberals and the media just fly to and zap. Right? They're like, oh, we're going. They drop. We're gonna get him on this one. He said this. And they just fall to the bottom of the tray.
Exactly. Yep.
I kind of look at him that way. He's a bug zapper.
That's great. That's a great analogy. That's right.
You're gonna cause a third world war with North Korea. You're calling him Rocket Man. Nope, not anymore. You want to get rid of NAFTA? You're gonna destroy the stock market. The stock market's gonna crash in the first 60 days of being inaugurated. Nope, not doing that. Mexico's gonna hate us in Canada. No, they threw out NAFTA and re-signed an agreement.
Yep. Stock market's gonna crash, and
the whole world's gonna turn against us. Right. And nope, that's not happening either.
No, not really.
Yeah, he's the bug zapper of presidents. That's my new name for him, the bug zapper. I like that. Just come. You saw it here first, people.
Glad I could help.
Yeah, just came. You're my inspiration, Doug. Just like back when you were my PL, you were my inspiration.
There you go.
When I would stumble out of the back of that FDC truck and step down and get a little mud on my boots, and I'd look at you running between gun to gun, and I'd be like, God, that lieutenant, he's my inspiration.
It was sleeting. How much was it sleeting? It was sleeting so much they had to decouple the gun from the base plate to pour
People that watch the show have heard this story so much they feel like they were at the range with us.
I know. In the heat plume, when that door of the FTC was cracked, it was like some sort of like Turkish sauna or something. I don't know. Not that I would know, but I'm just thinking if I had to imagine a Turkish sauna, that's what it would be like.
I was going to ask you what your baseline of experience was on Turkish saunas full of men.
Completely, what was the name of that movie?
I don't know, but I don't think it's a movie we want to talk about. My mom's watching. I don't know what movie that is. I thought it
I
was
don't know that. No, it's rated PG.
Caligula.
Oliver
I don't
Stone
know.
wrote the script. I don't remember what it was called.
Was
About
it
a Turkish prison.
was it Caligula? I don't know what that was, but anyways,
I'm gonna Google it.
yeah,
I'm gonna
okay,
Google
you
it.
do that. So, anyways, what I was saying was you were my inspiration, as I would step out
Awesome.
and get the light out of my eyes, and the ramen noodles off my chin, and
Korean ramen.
Korean ramen, and I would
You were a ramen
at
snob.
you running in the rain back and forth, and then
That was my job.
once I started to get a chill, I realized that I was in the wrong area, and I would duck myself back up into my FPC, be inspired by you, and slam the door shut, and tell one of my drivers or RTOs to heat up my coffee while I did some more.
Turn up the Arctic heater a little bit more.
Right.
Yes. Well, that was my job, to be soaking wet Gore-Tex out with the guys in the gun line.
But you did inspire me. You inspired me.
It was awesome.
And I said, one day I wish I was I could be a lieutenant and do that. And I never made that path. I'd stayed the NCO route. I think that there was a reason.
You may have chosen wisely.
Yes.
Is all I'm saying.
Yes.
So,
but anyways, so a number of things going on, Doug. I don't know. Is there anything right off the top of your head that you want to talk about, get my opinion on, maybe have our listeners text in to 512-361-1178, or they can comment on in Facebook or whatever. Anything that you want to kind of engage people on or engage?
Well, I'm just curious, since we're pretty much ground zero here in Texas for the Beto craze. I pronounce Beto Robert Francis O'Rourke. But I'm just curious what the out of Austin, out of the state of Texas perception is, or what you've heard or not heard, because it's like it's like the Beatles touring the United States in 1964 type craze for him.
So here's what I can tell you I've heard and see, and I'd be interested to see what our listeners from wherever they live and viewers wherever they live and what they're seeing in media. But here's what I've seen as I've watched both sides of the media. If you're watching Fox and the more conservative side, it's all about how much millions he has raised more than anyone else, and how much of it has come out of Hollywood, and how much he's become the darling child. They've talked about him being Kennedy-esque, and not just because of his drinking and driving, but
thank you for bringing that up.
Not just because of that, but look, it's the same thing we saw in 2008. When President Obama was first running, when it was, look how young he is and articulate he is and hip he is and all this kind of stuff. It's the same exact thing again. It's like, wow, this young guy, he's kind of good looking and he's smooth, and he made some mistakes, but he's admitted them, and all that kind of stuff. And it's almost like the left is so desperate for someone besides Hillary. They're grasping at anyone, right?
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
So if you're watching the conservative side, it's about how much money he's raising from Hollywood, purely coming from Hollywood, how they're putting all their bets on, they're moving all their chips to him. They think he's going to be it because, he has a chance to take Texas, which is, from Ted Cruz, which of course is a polarizing figure on both sides of the aisle, right? Conservative. He does not have a lot of friends in the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. And of course, the because he ran as a candidate, the right or the left would love to get rid of him too. If you watch the more left-leaning media outlets, which is CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, any of those that sound like that, it's about it's kind of not so much how the money he's raising and they're talking about, but it's more of like, he's going to beat Ted Cruz. We're going to win Texas. We're taking Texas. This is it. See, it's Trump's fault. This is a testament to how bad the country hates Trump, and it's because, look, even Texas is going to flip and go to him. So that's kind of what I've seen from them both. But if it wasn't for that, I don't think most of the country gives a crap. Because
no, you're right, and
it's Texas.
It's very similar to when Wendy Davis ran for governor 4 years ago.
Who's that?
Same kind of deal. Outside money, lots of it. She was the abortion Barbie or whatever her name was, but she was supposed to win. And
I kind of remember about her a little bit. Obviously, I already forgot about her, but I kind of remember that now. Yeah.
But anyway, long story short, so it's very similar to that, and I predict that whether he wins or loses, he'll have a prime time speech time at the Democratic convention in 2020, and he may be the number 2 guy on whatever the ticket is for the Democratic Party in 2020.
He could be.
So you heard it here first.
Yeah, he could be. I mean, that's what they're going to do. I mean, they are, look. It's obvious that they're, there's a lot of people this way so early out. I mean, they already, we got Kamala Harris, you got
Yep.
Booker, you got Biden, so you got the young, you got young ones, and you got the old man from the Muppets who's about to got one foot in the grave, right? Um, you know, Chelsea's talking about possibly. I don't know, right? Everyone wants to put their foot in the ring. So. But you're right. I think I agree with you, right? Because that's how did everyone get to know Barack Obama? He was the speech at the DNC convention, and
Yep.
everyone was like, "Who's this guy?" Right? Who's this young, mixed race looking, kind of hot looking, very articulate young guy to
Right.
Chicago, and he espoused everything they were looking for, right?
And
Um,
and they both they're similar in another way too. Is that he's culturally appropriated the Beto moniker, even though his name is Robert Francis O'Rourke. Similarly to the way Obama dispensed with being Barry Swarto, which is what he was for the bulk of his
right.
his life. If someone please correct me out there if I'm wrong, but it's like you glom on to what gets you the most
Isn't
mileage.
that what's the definition of real cultural appropriation is? Isn't that
I
what?
I totally agree.
It's like the
And
it's like
and
the
they're
it's like
both
the
Ivy Leaguers because he
yeah
went to some Ivy League,
yeah.
and yeah, so he went to some like Columbia or
Isn't
one of those Ivy. So they're very similar that way.
Yeah, like what's her name? I don't even remember her name anymore. The one up in Washington that claimed she was black and she was the
Yes.
NAACP head, right? At least she tried to look black, right? I mean, she tried to kind of look the ball. This dude's name is Robert Francis. He
Yep.
is he looks as non-Latino as they come, and really isn't. And Roberto, and he's taken Beto, and it's like. The other guy's named Ted Cruz. Like that's the name
Right.
he was born with. It's like, you know,
Well, isn't that funny? We're in the state of Texas. We got the actual Hispanic dude named Ted running against a faux Hispanic white dude with an Irish name, labeling himself Beto. Only in America.
only in America.
Only
That's
in
right.
America.
That's right. But
You could that could possibly
you could
happen.
blame Bush,
And,
Trump, or Obama. Pick anyone you want for that. It's either one. But
yep.
yeah.
It's amazing.
So I
Yep.
don't know. No one's commenting. I don't I don't know what the rest of the nation. I think there's so much national stuff, international stuff they're paying to. No one paying attention to. No
Yeah.
one's watching it. But
The you want to just kind of like do a violent lane change over to the Saudi Turkish
yeah, I do. I want to talk about that.
thing.
Thank you. Nice transition. Very smooth.
You like that?
Yeah. So
Very smooth.
if you're
Very
listening,
smooth.
and
Like this whiskey, it was very smooth.
there you go. That's right. If you're listening or watching, you want to text in the show 512-361-1178 to Stu and the Nunn. You're watching Stu and Shard over there. Over there. There we go. Over there. And we are talking about all kind of events tonight. So let's talk about the Saudi thing. I
Yeah.
got into it today on the Facebook page for my blog at boohammer.com. And I had a little back and forth because I've been known to be opinionated. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Shocking.
Yeah,
I never knew that about you.
I
never
usually
picked that up.
I usually can keep my opinions to myself, and no one really
You-
knows where I stand on things. But yeah,
That
so
was your strong suit.
was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I stayed. I was very quiet. NCO, wasn't I?
Very reserved.
Mhm.
Just sat in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Never yelled at anybody. That's what I tell the guys all the time. I'm like, I never screamed. They're like, you made me low crawl with a bass plate through the mud. I'm like, nah, I was a nice squad leader. What are you talking about? I don't remember doing that. I thought I hugged you and cuddled you and nurtured you to my bosom or something. But Lee Badriki. But anyways, or John McDonald. But no, So anyways, I digress. So let's talk about it. So I got into it with this guy today. I put up a meme. There was a meme that came out or something, and it was pretty much like, I'll paraphrase it. You can go to the Facebook page for boohammer.com and see it. But I paraphrase, and I pretty much just said, wow, why do we care so much about a Saudi citizen being killed by Saudis in a Turkish in a Saudi embassy or consulate in Turkey when we don't care about 4 Americans who were murdered in Benghazi, right? Left to be murdered in Benghazi. And oh my Lord, the hate came flowing quickly. By how I compared them to, and one person said, well, those Americans knew what they were getting into, the risk they took, and this kind of stuff, and so on and so forth. And what they kind of missed was, yeah, they knew the risk that could happen, but their deaths were avoidable if somebody would have
Right.
responded. Right, that's a big difference. But no one really cared much about them, and everyone kind of wrote it off like, oh well, that's what happens. But again, this guy wrote for the Washington Post. Okay, a U.S. based paper, a media outlet.
Right.
He had a, I guess, a green card. Maybe he's on a
Yeah, he's
some
not a
some
citizen, and I
kind of
think that's
visa.
part
No.
of the confusion. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of.
Well,
I think there's
that's
a lot of.
one of the counter arguments today was someone said, well, he was, they were arguing for that, and they were like, he was authorized to live here. Like, okay, cool. There's a ton of people come over the border every day.
There's
That
like
get,
probably 85 million people
right.
on the planet that are authorized to live here.
But he
Yeah.
was a Washington Post reporter that was here on some kind of visa or something. He was not a U.S. citizen, and he went back. He was in Turkey. He went willingly into the Saudi consulate, and for whatever motivated him to do that, and that happened. And it's terrible, by
It
all
was
means,
terrible.
right? But we don't care about young girls getting genital mutilations in Middle Eastern countries. We don't care about journalists being murdered in South and Central America and over in the Middle East and everywhere else in Russia.
Yeah.
We don't really care about some for a large part of the population. Don't care about other governments murdering folks or girls trying to go to school getting acid thrown on them. No one really cares about that.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
but they care about this because it involves Saudi Arabia, who, granted, they are an ally, good, bad, or indifferent.
Right.
We have a lot of allies that, the friend of your friend is your enemy kind of thing. And, and they may not, we still spy on them. They spy on us. I mean, Israel has spied on us. We've spied on them, but they are one of our closest allies. We share a lot of information with them. And, so we have close out, we have friends, and then we have our tight group of friends, right? Our tight group of friends is like Britain and
Other
and
other
Israel,
other
right,
democracies, other
Australia,
actual democracies,
right, Australia, New Zealand. That's our real tight group. That's our
Right.
bros, right? Everyone else are friends or associates. So, look, Turkey's an ally too, and they have not been a great one. We haven't agreed with
Nope.
them on stuff. Saudi Arabia's the same way. It's because the president has established a good relationship with the king and with the monarchy in Saudi Arabia, and because there happens to be 160 billion with a B, I think 160, could be 110, give or take 50 billion.
150
Yeah.
is what I heard. Yeah.
$1 billion arms deal that would generate jobs and for a long time in American jobs and do all that kind of stuff. Because that's and he brokered that deal. Now all of a sudden everyone is like demanding this, forgive the pun, for demanding the Saudis' head on a stake because they killed one of their own citizens in their
Right.
consulate, essentially on their sovereign land in their consulate
Right.
in
That's
another
correct.
country. And
And
but he worked for it. Now, if he didn't write for Washington Post, if he wrote for Al Jazeera, would anybody care? Like,
no, I know, Troy, and it's what's so frustrating to me is like this is what happens in other countries throughout the world, probably each and every day. This is why this is the greatest country in the world. That's why we're all shocked. They're probably going, why does anybody care? We're just doing our thing.
we're talking about Saudi Arabia, who still
Right.
they still stone women.
The kingdom,
Right.
the kingdom of, we threw that king stuff off back in 17.
Right.
We declared independence in 1776. We fought a war. We won the war, and we had a peace treaty with Great Britain in 1783. I would argue it took till the War of 1812 to finally seal the deal completely from them because they were screwing around still. Anyway, long story short, this is what happens in other countries that aren't like us. And here's another contradiction, Troy. These same people who are screaming for all this stuff, I thought the United States sucked. I thought from their perspective, we're no better than anybody else, no other culture, no other country. And so who are we to judge poor old Saudi Arabia when we have our own long history of abuse and whatever, and it's like, so I don't understand. It's like you got to pick a side. Either we're good and we have some high moral standing, so we can make these, we can be offended, like actually, not just fake offended, or we're not. So
Well, I'll put it in this perspective. Let me give you a different spin on this, Doug. When the president was calling Kim Jong-un Rocket Man, right? And he was shooting missiles over Japan and threatening to shoot the U.S. And alarms were going off in Hawaii, and people in Guam were freaking out.
Right.
They were like, leave him alone. Quit calling him Rocket Man. You're going to instigate this. You're going to start this. They were, the media and the Hollywood and the side that wants to be anti-Trump about anything can happen, right? Anti the president and the administration was like, don't call him that, this and that, whatever. They didn't care. The second that a deal was worked out, and possibly because of, he stood up to them and didn't have a problem calling him a name or doing whatever, and they worked out whatever things they worked out behind the scenes, and they met and they became, he shook his hand and said, hey, I like this guy, we're gonna get this on. Then all of a sudden it spun to like, Kim Jong-un is the worst person in the world. He tortures his people. He murdered his own brother. He murdered his half-brother and poisoned him, and he shoots people and does this and does that. Well, yeah, he did that the whole time, but no one ever talked about that. Like, no one didn't say, hey, yeah, call him more than Rocket Man. Call him an a-hole. Call him this. He does all these bad things. Call him a murderer. Call him all these bad things. Murderer. No one talked.
A communist murderer.
Yeah, nobody talked about that. They were just like, be nice to him. He may shoot a rocket at us. Like, be nice. He may shoot him. The second he became friendly with the president, and Toby and I have talked about this before, you can, the left and the media and everything else will, if the president doesn't like you, you're their star, and the president does like you, they hate you, and there's people like Robert Mueller who have been both within the same 20 or Omarosa that have been both within the same 24-hour period. But that's what it was with Kim Jong-un. It was like, hey, be nice to him. Don't egg him on. You got to be diplomatic. You can't call him that. How dare you call another leader name to, how dare you be friends with him? He's a murderer. He's a this. He's a that.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Okay, if he is that, which I agree, then Trump's just calling it like it is.
Right.
He's just, it is what it is. He's a communist, a despotic leader, and that's, you kill your half brother or whatever, just like the Saudis do. They're not a representative republic. They're not a.
Again, they just allowed women. They just allowed women to drive. Right. This is 2000. They just allowed women to drive for the first time.
Right.
They genetically mutilate women for doing things. They blame rape victims for getting raped. Right. They stone women who maybe look at someone or take a veil off. It's the same people. They didn't do this 150, 200,000 years ago. They did this year. Like, if you're going to be mad at them, there is a lot more important and stuff. There's a lot more humanitarian reasons, is the word I'm looking for, to be upset with them than maybe they tortured and murdered one of their own citizens on their property. On
their sovereign territory. Right.
Look, they flew some dudes in. They went in there. They did whatever they did. The dude never came out, and they left. That's it's their business.
Right. And and then here, that's a great. I'm glad you swerved into that because isn't the bottom line we're supposed to stay out of people's business? We're supposed to not.
Don't be the world's cop, right? Don't be the world's 911. Quit starting wars with everyone. Afghanistan was not our business. Iraq was not our business. Saddam Hussein wasn't our business.
Vietnam was not our business. We could go on and on, and
So, anyways, that was a hot topic. That's how I feel about it. It is terrible.
It is terrible, but
it is a serious test of the administration. But to me, it's no more a test than any time any of our other allies or who we call allies or that we have to get along with do something that's terrible, and we just have to
and I'm not a big fan of Saudi, but they're a counterbalance to Iran, who I'm even less of a fan of.
Right.
I mean, so that's I guess, and what's unfortunate about the whole thing from the geopolitical strategic perspective is I thought they were just trying to get like a NATO type organization within the Middle East, to form it. I guess it would be Saudi, Egypt, I don't know who else, to counterbalance against Iran. And
look, here's the thing. This is no different than if all these countries were people that we know were just people on the block. This is no different than what anyone else does. You want something from someone, you suck up to them, you get along with them to get it. If there's a guy or girl you don't like and they're kind of a tool, but you know what? You need a job and they could influence you and get you a job, you're going to turn the other cheek and forget about it. Let's be honest. Right. That's what it's going to be. When Iraq-Iran war was going on, we were against Iran because of the hostage crisis. sacrifices, we became good friends with Iraq, and we funded Iraq, and we gave them arms, and we gave them
We gave
money,
him intelligence.
right?
We gave him all kinds of stuff.
Before
Right.
in Central America, we were friends with Noriega. He was our buddy. He was on the CIA payroll because we were against other communistic influences
Exactly
into
right.
the region, right? That's what we do, and we do that on the world stage, and we do it in our personal lives. Hey, I don't really like that person, and if any of you say you haven't done this or whatever, either you have not been out and about in life, or I seriously doubt your honesty and integrity. Look, there's someone we don't like. I really don't like her, but I got to get along with her for this reason, right?
Right. Or you work with them.
Or you work with them. I don't like him, but I got to work with him. Or I work for this lieutenant,
exactly.
or I work for this commander, or I work for this sergeant, or whatever. I don't have to
Exactly.
like him, but I got to get along with him. I got to put up with him. It doesn't mean I'm going to invite him over on the weekend and hang out with him, but I got to get along with him. That's what.
But see, I think you hit on another thing too, Troy, where people conflate, like whether it's Beto or or Obama, they conflate, like, okay, I'm never gonna know Trump personally. I don't really. He might be like a complete a-hole. I get it, but I'm not looking for a best friend. I'm not looking for a dude to hang out with on the block. I'm looking for some dude to take care of some stuff that's been neglected. And anyway, long story. And I think they conflate like a business, what you're talking about, a business relationship with like a personal friend. It's like, no, I have my friends over here. I know who my friends are. Then there's other people, and I try to be Christian and nice and all that, but we throw that term around, friend, way too loosely. And I think they conflate that, and that's why they become so passionate when you say, "Yeah, I'm not going to vote for that guy." What do you? And then it's like you've insulted their special needs child or something. They go in this like hyper defense mode, and you're just like, "No, I just, I don't." And they act like they know these people, and they call them by like their first names. It's weird. If you just notice these patterns with people that, if you ever talk about things like this, they're like, "Oh yeah, well, it's like, no,
right.
You don't know them." And at least for me, speaking from, I can't get passionate enough to put a sign in my front yard unless my son or Troy or someone I actually know is running for office. Then I got skin in the game now.
Right.
Now I feel like I'm fully prepared to address any and all nonsense that might be coming, negative stuff. Troy's running for city council place 6 or something. Okay, put sign in the front yard. And, because I go, I've known this guy for 26 years, yada, but everybody else, I'm like, I don't know these people.
As long as they don't go back to my high school years and look at my yearbook, we're okay.
No, they're going to go back further. They're going to go back to kindergarten now. And, you stole the macaroni color Crayola from little Bobby next to you.
I think I was good there. I think it started around 3rd grade. I got in trouble one time for kissing these girls in the playground. I think that's where it started.
Now you're in some other category now. You're forget it.
Yeah,
just,
3rd grade. Man.
You need to
play.
Make other plans, my friend. Make other plans. Politics is out of it.
Yeah, I've kind of considered that the whole time.
They're going to bring in someone that you haven't seen in 45 years.
I spent a long time in the Colleen, dude. There's no telling what people got on me, but just saying. A lot of time outside of Fort Hood, outside those gates, at the Heights and Copper's Cove and all that. But anyways, and I don't even talk about Korea. We're not even going to go there. But anyways, because my mom's watching. Yeah. So that's how I feel. I don't know if you feel. It sounds like you kind of feel along the same thing. But anyways, I got into it today with this guy or whatever. I don't care. Oh look, there's Francis here riding a skateboard. I saw.
He's so hot.
Who started that? Started it, right? Bill Clinton laid down the groundwork of playing the saxophone in their City Hall show. Yep. He was the first president that was like young and cool and hip. And look, he's not all stuffy and this and that, whatever.
And what? How did that work out?
Yeah. Oh, they forget that
How'd
too.
That work out?
Oh, he's not a violator of the Me Too movement. Everybody still loves him. Yeah, that's a whole other thing. That reminds me too. I was thinking about this the other day. I'm going to transition kind of to a different thing here real quick. I was talking to someone about this just the other day, and I can't even remember who I was talking to, but it was to the effect of Wow, so many people that I forgot who it was. Some actress the other day was, they were going off. It may have been on The View or something, and they were saying, how can anyone vote for the president and we hate him because he's a sexual assaulter himself, and
Predator.
he
Yeah.
said the stuff on the bus, and he's used women and this and this and this. So how could anyone ever vote for him? There's no way you could ever vote for him. And I kind of thought about that. I'm like, then I guess that means there's no way they would have voted for Hillary, because their whole thing was we couldn't, he shouldn't even be in the White House because he's not appreciate women. It was some feminist. It may have been
Yeah.
a Rosie chick or whatever, but it was, and it was, how could they do this? And I kind of thought to myself, like, I guess all these people would never have voted for Hillary, right? Because President Bill Clinton, who is known and has credible people with witnesses and evidence and physical
Right.
evidence to that degree.
Yeah. DNA.
Yeah.
DNA evidence.
Has assaulted women, would be the first man. Like, he'd be in the White House too, because their whole thing was like, the president shouldn't be in the White House because he is not, he doesn't respect women, and Kavanaugh shouldn't be in the Supreme Court because he does, he was alleged to do something even though there was no evidence or nothing. And I kind of thought, then who they voted for? Like, because there's no way, Doug, they could have that argument and vote for Hillary, because you would be bringing a sexual predator into the White House as the first man.
Correct.
Right. And around all those interns, and the president, she's busy, right? President Hillary, that sounds terrible. It gives me shudders to even say that. But she'd be busy doing president stuff, right? He'd be like, I got the house. I'm good. I'll watch the place. I'll be Mr. Mom, right?
Sure, yeah. He'll bring a new meaning to that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah,
kind of thought about that.
Real quick on the Kavanaugh thing, I just had this other thought. If what's her face, the Ford lady, if she would have brought whatever she had, why did she have to bring it to Dianne Feinstein? Why didn't she bring it to the head of the Senate Judicial Committee, the Grassley guy? Why didn't she go like straight like to the top?
She should have. And when she had her one-on-one with Kavanaugh in her office, she spent like a day or more with him one-on-one. He met with every one of the committee members.
Yep.
She could have asked him then, hey, I got
right.
this.
I got some information.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm just saying, if it to me, it lends a lot more credibility if and actually, arguably that it might have been more effective, but it appeared to be so partisan, and it had that.
Toby and I talked about that a couple weeks ago, man. She could have handled, we could have saved all this, right? She could have announced it, then she could have brought to Grassley, then they could have done their own investigation, kept it on the down low, and then he could have just quietly withdrawn his nomination.
Exactly.
No one would have known. He could have stayed where he was. The Democrats would have achieved what they wanted, which would have been to stop him from getting in. Because remember, when he announced Kavanaugh, they were erasing their signs and saying, no Kavanaugh, right? They didn't know who to put on there. They could have gotten what they wanted.
Anyway, that was my thought.
But you know what? But it doesn't serve their purpose because
because
you know what? There probably was nothing there. So and maybe they did. Maybe they did investigate and find out. Maybe Feinstein sent out her whole crew and did an investigation and realized there's nothing there. We'll just say this is a trump card. Forgive the pun.
My whole proposition is predicated on it having legitimacy, but I'm just saying, but since I guess that's the whole thing, like just go straight to the top with this, man. And and again, then I go, well, why didn't you say something when he was up to be the DC Circuit Judge like 12 years ago, whenever that was? So anyway, that's my whole I was just like, it's just
wow.
Anyway,
so I'm sorry, everyone. I kept looking. I don't know what happened. My comments were not refreshing, and I kept looking over, and I thought, man, we're not getting any comments on the chat. Like, no one has anything to say about this. And then my Facebook just did something, and I go back. I mean, like the last thing I had was John Kaiser saying hello, and now I see all this other stuff. Wow, Joseph Esperanza.
Am I going to be banned? Am I going to be banned from Facebook now?
No, we got some Toby's folks here. Beto eats tacos with a fork.
That's outstanding.
Joe Esperanza, man, I can't keep up with this. People talking about Mandy talking about me being opinionated, or someone being opinionated. Yeah, wow. I've got to catch up. I'm sorry, everybody. I don't know. The Facebook was trying to shut us down, man, like we're diamond and silk.
I think there must be dispensing too much raw truth here. For the cyclic rate of our truth is too much for for
Our cyclic
Facebook to
rate.
handle.
Nice. I like that. Cyclic rate.
Do you like that? Do you like? I knew
Speaking
you'd
for
appreciate
your
that.
non-military members, he's referring to the M249 saw, or actually anything, but kind of came
Anything
out.
that's a fully automatic.
That's true. Yeah,
You know.
yeah. But we always
You
talked
know.
about the adjusting the cyclic rate on the first generation of the saw. You could do that. I
The
think they got.
first generation of the
I
saw.
think they got rid of that. I think they did. Someone let me know. But see, why do I remember that in the first one we could adjust the cyclic rate and then and the gas tube on the front, and then they got rid of that because it was malfunctioning. I had a problem.
It was probably again. It was probably scope creep,
Hmm.
getting into the requirements for the weapon, and they were trying to
Yeah.
make it do too much. And then when
Yeah.
you try to make something do too much, it doesn't do anything well. So
Yes, I want to segue into something else that's near and dear to my heart, and it's something I mentioned earlier, and that's Rosie O'Donnell. Um,
oh yeah,
yeah, just
absolutely.
just choking.
Bring it.
I feel it right here. Yeah, so she wow, she wants the military to have a coup and remove the president from the White House. Um, you can't. I thought I was reading The Onion. You can't make this shit up. I
Yeah,
mean, uh, she wants the military to forcefully remove him from uh, the White House. And
okay. And then can I ask a question? It reminds me of that Finding Nemo movie at the end. You know, the fish finally break out of the
yeah,
dentist's office, and they're each in a bag with water, and they're floating in the water.
yeah,
And then the blowfish goes, "Well, now what?" So let's say that all happens. What happens?
yeah.
Who do we install? What benevolent dictator do we install? I'm sure in her world, she goes, well, the closest thing we have is Hillary because she got the popular vote in 2018. I don't know. I mean, what's the
Well,
what's the middle?
you've
You
heard
know,
Maxine Waters, right? Maxine says as soon as she impeaches Trump, she's going after Pence. Like, okay, but
wait then wait then whoever the Speaker of the House is becomes president,
yeah,
right?
right.
Whoever that'll be.
Right, whoever that'll be. No,
That's number three.
I want. If Rosie can do anything forcefully, I want her to forcefully shove more Twinkies down her freaking pie hole so oxygen can't move down there. That's what I want. Just quit stealing from the rest of us, and just do us all a favor
Yeah.
and as my good friend Tuminelli would say, go choke yourself with a chainsaw. Anyways, because we're going there tonight, and I have not even been drinking, but it just
Man.
I see idiotic stuff like that, and I'm just like.
I know.
You don't even
I know,
understand
and
the
I'm
basic
like,
Constitution. You don't even understand the basic, like what is around. But anyways, Rosie O'Donnell removed the president. Okay, whatever. I thought she was going to Canada anyways. Why isn't she gone yet? But
yeah,
anyway.
in the bottom line is everything's conditional. It's like selective outrage, conditional caring. You know, if
Yeah.
someone had said that from the year 2008 to 2016, when someone else occupied the White House, that would be sedition,
Yeah.
treasonous, this, that, and the other thing. But wait, we changed one thing. Oh, now it's cool. Now it's cool to advocate for a violent overthrow of the government.
It's sad to say, Doug, but I don't know how we can turn our country back from this without a major catastrophe. I mean, look at every catastrophe movie. Look at Independence Day. Look at every time a meteor's hit the country. Look at hit the globe. Aliens landed. Shit happens. And like thousands and thousands, if not millions, of people get wiped out. Right at the end of every one of those movies, right? Everyone kind of comes together. They're
for
like
15.
they're at a
they
military.
come together for 15 minutes.
Yeah, they're at
and then they start going at each other again.
No, they're at a military base inside the gates, and everything's in ruins. It's apocalyptic, and they're like, "We made it, we survived," and the stars make it.
I know, but but they should keep the camera rolling.
Will Smith comes walking out of the
minutes.
Will Smith
because
comes
someone's
walking
gonna
out
start
of the desert.
bitching. Someone's going to be in the bunker underground going, man, it's too hot in here. The air conditioner sucks. This water tastes like dirt. There's no liquor. There's this. This food sucks. And then it goes from there.
No, I don't think it will. You know why? Because we've seen this happen. We've seen it in our lifetime. We saw it on September 12th, 13th, October, December, January 2002, up till about March of 2003.
I was going to say, it lasted like 6 months.
It lasted about 6 months to a year, depending. But remember those first days in New York City when everyone I remember being there about 4 or 5 months after the attack. I was there in April, I guess, whatever that was, probably 6 months. And and people were still like going out of their way to thank NYPD and firemen and
Fire
and
department.
fire trucks going down, responding to a fire, and people like clapping, like I'm right in the middle of Times Square and everything, and New Yorkers, and not just tourists,
Yeah.
and of course we were National Guard down there guarding and doing stuff, and we would see it and get all kind of accolades, but it would be, I mean, it sickens me to think that it takes that. I don't know what else would reverse this, but it seems like it would take such a horrific, and I'm really interested in anyone because I'm now getting your comments
Yeah. That's
and what you guys think, but I don't know how else is going to turn this back. What's going to stop the back and forth? What's going to stop the tit for tat? Let's say the Democrats win. Let's say here's what we know, right? The Democrats win. Let's say the Democrats win the House and Senate or whatever, right? And
okay.
in here in 3 weeks. Nothing's happening in this country and the government for the next 2 years. Nothing. There's not a
Right.
damn thing that the president's going to get
Except
they're going to stop him on.
investigations.
Right. There's nothing that they're going to push that he's going to sign. This country is going to freeze like someone stopped time when it comes to making any progress within our government and our country, and that's going to have a rippling effect across the markets and across the globe. Okay, that happens for 2 years. And then the Democrats, let's say they win the presidency in 2020 and they have both houses or one house. It doesn't matter. And then they're gonna want to start putting in justices, because then if Ginsburg lasts that long, they'll be trying to put in and replace her, and they're gonna start putting in all these other judges and doing stuff. And the Republicans aren't gonna just roll over and say, no, we're above that. They're gonna turn it. It's what goes around comes around, and they're gonna turn it back on them, and we're gonna be back in the same boat. And it's gonna be, depending on which channel you turn on, it's gonna be
Right.
back and forth, and it's never gonna end. I mean,
Yeah.
they've set a precedence. They've set a bar that no one's going to back away from at all. I don't see it.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and it's almost like you're saying. It's interesting you're saying that because I can't remember who the guy was right before the American Civil War broke out, but he was advocating to the president, "Hey, pick a fight. Let's just start a war with, I don't know, Great Britain, anybody, so we can deflect attention from the potential powder keg conflict within the states here between north, south, new states coming in the union. Are they going to be slave? Are they going to be free? Whatever." And that was, so to your point, I'm sure a lot of people were sitting around back in the 1850s going, yeah, what we really need to bring this place back together is, either some kind of catastrophe. I don't know what they were thinking. We should pick a fight with France, pick a fight, whoever. Spain was still a power back then. So I don't know, and it's I don't know, dude. And I think it's
my good friend Mandy hit it right on the spot. And Mandy, I agree with you. We need term limits. I've been saying that for
amen.
Ever.
Amen.
Three terms, Congress and Senate. 3 terms. That's it, max. You get one to
Right.
get in. You got some time to worry about it. Maybe a couple re-elections, but the third one, you're out. You're done. I mean, we need it desperately. Term limits, because you get in, you're a civil servant, you're representing your people, you go up there, you represent them. After 3 terms of whichever branch you're in, whichever house you're in, it's time to go back, someone new with fresh perspective, talking to the people, all that kind of stuff. This whole thing of someone being in the Senate through 30, 40,
Yeah.
or the House even 30, 40 years.
Career politicians,
Yeah,
right.
That's not
it was
what
never
Go back
never
to being
intended.
a lawyer. Go back to being a banker. Go back to being whatever, just like President George Washington did, which is why we have term limits, because he did his 2 and said, I'm out. President Kennedy was looking forward to his term. I mean, he was so looking forward to before he was assassinated, that his old law firm, little P-Dunk law firm in Illinois, they left his name on the sign because he was coming back there to be a lawyer again. Right.
That's what you did. That's
Yeah.
what I just gonna go do this for a while and come back. Even it even gets to the point where like a standing army was kind of you like Andrew Jackson would say, no, you just join the militia, you go take care of business, and you go back to doing whatever your job was at the time. But
Right.
yeah, that would be great, but I don't know how in the world they're going to pull that one off, because the people in power write the laws. So I don't. And then they'd argue, well, isn't that freedom?
And another one,
Isn't that freedom for the people of whoever? Pick your congressman or congresswoman who's been there for literally decades. Isn't that the freedom for them to
That's
keep
not the American.
reelecting
Yeah,
him.
that's not the American dream. The American dream is to build.
Just saying,
Yeah.
that's going to be the argument,
But
you
Rob,
know.
Rob
But
brings up a good one too. No lifetime benefits like they get now, right? They get lifetime benefits,
oh, that's
but if they do, they get health care from the VA. I'm all for that, Rob. Good, thank you
that's
very much.
right. That's right. They got to go to the VA. Amen.
Yeah,
That's a fantastic point. I like
yeah,
that.
yeah. It is.
That's
But I just it's sad. I don't want to be right, Doug. I don't want to.
I know. I
I
know,
never
dude.
want to
And
be on here saying, "Remember when I told you this? I told you
I
so."
know. And
But
dude, I just read this great historical novel. It about the Peloponnesian War. It was Athens versus Sparta, and there's so many there's a lot of similarities there. It's very interesting. But to your point, I think it's just I don't know, dude. I try to get down to the I try to distill things down to the lowest level to try to understand. And I don't know. Is it just we can talk about economics and politics and all this stuff, but and why someone believes this or someone else believes these other thing. And I don't know, is it just personality types? I think that's a lot. It's just because you can't. Someone likes Coke, someone likes Pepsi. I don't know. Someone prefers Target to Walmart. And then Patriots fan against whoever,
right,
Buffalo Bills fan. And at some point, a lot of this political discourse to me sounds a lot like some, a New England fan arguing with a New York fan. I'm like, it's you guys aren't even talking to each other. Words, we don't even have a common lexicon from which to work. Is that what's free mean? To some that means you take individual responsibility but other people that means freedom from responsibility. Someone else is supposed to. It's someone else's responsibility because for whatever reason, I'm owed this or this, and it goes on and on. And you brought up a good point earlier. You gave the analogy of you went from countries' relationship to individual people's relationship, and I think there's a lot of merit to that because you can think of things on a macro scale or a micro scale, and when you break it all down, yeah, there's not a whole lot of difference there. It's just, at the end of the day, it's just all people. So
it's all
I don't
people.
know.
That's right. It is. I hope there's some miracle. I hope that whether it's God intervening Himself or there's something else happens, but that it doesn't. It doesn't take that. Something that the American people quit listening to what people tell them to listen to or want to listen to or what their favorite musician or actor tells them to listen to, and they think about it themselves and think we've got to change this, right? We talk about power to the people and that kind of stuff. That's really where it's got to be. They got to realize there's enough of this, right? Which means vote out people if they do hit two. If they don't want to get out and keep trying to stay in, vote them out. Put someone new in there. Maybe it means just standing up and writing them and just making voice. Look. We look at the Me Too movement, right? We have taken something that has obviously existed in this country, in this society for years. It exists in a lot of societies, not as modernized as ours, and is almost accepted. But in our country, which wasn't ever supposed to be accepted and part of the norm, it is the casting couch. Where it was pretty much invented because of Weinstein. I mean, that whole thing was known about. People have abused, use their power or influence, or sometimes their physical strength to sexually assault men and women, and it could be men or women assaulting men or women. And how many people have come out? Now, there's no doubt that a large number. It has been empowering for a large number of victims. That have come forward. It's like they felt like they could, that they weren't being marginalized, or they'd lose their job, or no one would believe them, or whatever. But whether it's in the entertainment industry or not. But look how the groundswell has come about that it caused that, and the change that's happened in our society damn near overnight. I mean, it's been going on for a year. And when you think about our country, it is. I mean, it's up. It just hit its 1 year anniversary since that movement kind of came out. Mm-hmm. But look how it's come, and now it's come full circle. Now we have a Him Too movement, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Because of all the false accusations and the automatic guilt before innocence. But look at how that's happened. Imagine we can do that. We can, the American people thinking for themselves and wanting what's best for this country, and wanting politicians to represent them and not what they're being told to represent from other powers that be. They could do the same thing. We could hold people's feet to the fire, not shout them out of restaurants, not assault them, not
Yeah.
shoot at them at a baseball practice, but truly stand up and be like the Green Movement in Iran or like many other countries where the people stand up. But you can't be. It has to be out of what's in their heart and what they want best for the country, not what some outside group is paying them to do.
Exactly. Thank
Right.
you. Yeah, and that's exactly right. I mean, how much of these so-called movements are trumped up, if I may use that term,
Mm.
and to include, I think we were gonna. I don't know if you're gonna hit on the caravan moving from wherever,
Is that
Guatemala,
a is that
all the
a
way through
is that a is that a
Mexico.
new National Lampoon movie? Is that what that is? The National Lampoon border
That's right. But
border
you know,
vacation?
I look at that and I'm like, that who's supporting that? I mean, there's got to be some. You got to house these people, you got to feed these people, you got to transport these people, you got to let these people in from you know all the way through. Who who's paying who to even make that happen?
Right, right.
I mean, just to even pull it off, there's got to be. I'm like, how do you move? 1,200 people from point A to point B, hundreds and hundreds of miles, all kinds of different terrain, all kinds of weather. They need 2 or 3 square meals a day. I don't know. I don't know what they get. Um, but that just is not. I don't see that as a spontaneous grassroots movement.
No, that's
Because
not grassroots. That's someone starting something down there. But I mean,
exactly,
they're making a
it's exactly
run,
right.
and you know what? I think they're more want. I think I could be wrong, but I feel they're more wanting the publicity of the whole thing. Otherwise, why would you tell anyone? You want to smuggle
You would
across the
just do it.
border.
You
You
would
sneak
just do
across
it,
the border.
and you're
You're
right.
just you're
You're
like
right.
you're massing up and you're sneaking across without saying anything. You're not telling the whole world and
Exactly.
giving
If you and I
interviews
wanted to, if
and
we
saying
wanted
what to do.
to, sneak into a country, Troy, we're not going to go broadcast it.
Right.
We're not going to go, hey, PBS and whatever. Just watch me get on this. I wouldn't.
If I wanted to sneak into Canada, I'm not going to tell them I'm going to get a boat and go underneath and go across the lake, go across Lake Erie, and I'm going to sneak into Canada, and I'm doing it this way, and interview me before I get on the boat, and you can interview me from a drone. No, I'm going to sneak across and get into Canada. I'm not going to tell you I'm doing it, right? So
You know what you're going to do? You're going to wear your desert camo, that smock thing with
the
the cool,
night
the
desert
night
camo.
camo with
Yeah.
the grids on it,
Yeah.
and no one's going to. You're going to be like invisible.
That's because the Canadians still use T-55 tanks in their army, and so their night vision can't see us. That's what they told us. They told us that made us invisible to Soviet night vision, but no, man, it's a little history there. That's what they told
I
us.
mean,
We
yeah,
believed
no,
it.
I
We
just
believed
got.
it. Just like they told us to line up for that anthrax shot that no one would approve, but they told us just take this shot. You need it. It's going to save your life. We're never going to put it in your medical records, but that's a whole other thing.
That's a whole nother. That's a whole other episode that
Yeah,
people,
that's right.
yeah, other people that are more qualified than I can
I had a head
take.
full of hair until I took that shot. That's all I'm going to say. I looked like you, Doug. I looked just like you. I had a
Oh,
head
I'm
full of hair.
sorry, man. I only got the plague 1, 2, 3 shot and the Japanese encephalitis shot before they sent me to the
You
Philippines.
got Japanese syphilis? What'd you say?
No,
Oh.
Japanese encephalitis shot. Let me be clear. Encephalitis shot.
They said you got the Japanese syphilis shot. I'm like, wow, didn't know that. I didn't even know they made their own.
No,
Okay.
I'd be in a whole lot of trouble.
Yep, you would.
Lots.
But
So much trouble that it would be unbelievable.
so Mandy just asked. She also I want to bring this up. She has some good comments. Mandy's on it
Yeah,
tonight.
Andy's on fire tonight.
Yep. El Fuego. She's asked if I think there's been change because of Me Too. And there's been a lot of change, I think, because of Me Too. I think it depends whether it's bad or good. So. Let me just kind of. I'll just get a hit on a couple topics, Mandy. I don't know if this is what you're looking for. I think there's been good change in the fact that it's brought it to light, and people are more people that have been victims are more open about it, and probably more willing to come forward and not feel so intimidated or sheltered. I think it has also brought forward into the light the impact and the non-truthfulness of some of these accusations, that just because someone says it doesn't, just because you're a woman and you say something doesn't make that you should be believed and no one else should be. So I think it's also brought to light how it could be abused. I think it's done that too, and I think it's probably also, I think the positive change, if I were to say there's been one, or probably melted, but I think the biggest positive change is people that are predators, or people that think because of their position of power they could get away with it and no way no one would ever say anything about it. I think,
Yeah.
Doug, they have to really be questioning themselves now. Like,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
it's like if I do this, like, there's no way I'm going to intimidate this lady or this young girl to not say anything, or I'm gonna threaten her job or whatever, and she'll never say anything. They've got to be like, that's probably not that safe, right? I probably, if anything, it may be preventing it some because, uh,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
know, it
I
may
hope,
be. I don't know.
to your point, I hope that's one of the good things, because it's like the old analogy: you got a cop sitting in a car in a corner, just sitting there. How many crimes
Right.
has that cop prevented just by sitting there? So to your point, yeah, if this is a preventative measure, then
Well, look at
awesome.
it this way. Before it was an issue, the Weinsteins of the world in Hollywood, the casting couch thing, or the what's the dude from NBC that had the lock,
Oh yeah.
Lauer, right?
Yeah.
They did. How long did they do that for? How long did Weinstein do that and got away with it? We've heard the audio
Years.
tapes. We've heard the audio tapes where women have recorded him saying, just come to my room and do this and come take a shower with me and blah blah blah. And he never had any threat, had never
Correct.
any concern that anyone is going to out him at all, right?
Right.
Never even thought about it. President Bill Clinton, when he ran for president, probably never thought that Paula Jones and Anita Broderick and all would ever say anything. There's no way they'd ever come out and say something, right?
Yep.
And in fact, what we've learned now in history and looking back, Monica Lewinsky would have never said anything. It was Linda Tripp that brought it to light, right? It wasn't Monica Lewinsky. It wasn't like she was
Right.
offended. She would have stayed quiet. She didn't want to say anything. She didn't want to talk to Ken Starr's group or nothing like that. So I think truly it's made women feel, and men that have been victims feel like they could come forward. They're not going to be a freak of nature. They're not going to be
Right.
looked down upon or cast in the shadows. We're not Saudi Arabia,
Amen.
or Afghanistan even. They're not going to be looked down upon because they were a victim. They're going to be, people may actually listen to them, and anything the accused, the perpetrator may think twice about it because no one's going to not believe that they couldn't do it, right? So I
Yeah.
think that's
So
the change that's come out of it.
no, I agree. As long as it's a hefty deterrent now, that's winning right there.
Locks
So
key. I always say locks keep honest people out, right? That's
yep.
if someone still wants in, then they'll go past the lock. But people that aren't really super bad or dishonest, they'll like, oh, the door's locked. I'm not going to mess. Let me go find when it's unlocked, right? So I would say locks keep honest, but it kind of goes along the same thing. But anyways,
Yep.
thank you, Mandy, for that comment.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
That was very good. So yeah, this caravan's coming. The president has threatened to send the military. I guess that's before maybe Rosie convinces them to take him out. I'm not sure, but
That's right. That's right.
yeah. So he is saying, I don't know if that's just president being the president, or if he's serious. He's really going to send them down there. They're not U.S. citizens. I don't think habeas corpus would apply to them. It is our border, so it's not our country. It's at the edge of our country. If they come in, they're defending our country, which is what we all
Right.
raised our hand to do, both enemies, foreign and domestic.
Yep.
I think legally he could do it. We know there's a brigade sitting on Green Ramp all the time in Fort Bragg, ready to go to respond anywhere around the world in 24 hours.
Within 24 hours.
That is open source information. We've seen it happen a number of times. There's people on alert, so I guess they could go down there and do it. But I think he's serious. But I think I saw a tweet tonight from him that maybe because I know we've got this. Thankfully, we've thrown out NAFTA and we have the new U.S. Mexico Canada Act. That he's already talked to Mexico, and it sounds like maybe they're going to step in because I saw a tweet from him thanking the president of Mexico. So maybe
Yeah, at least there was some video footage of some federales being dispatched to the southern border there in Mexico. So I don't know.
Rob is saying that Governor Abbott's going to send the Guard, Texas National Guard.
Yeah, and again, getting back to my, and
I worked with the Texas National Guard before. I'm just going to say I've worked them before. I don't know. I don't want to offend
anybody. Man.
It may have changed. Things have changed after 9/11. Maybe they got better, but back in the 80s, they were.
Come on, dude. It used to be the 49th Armored Division, the largest armored division in the world.
Yes. Yeah. Well.
Back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. The timing is also suspect too, because by the time this caravan gets here, to our border, it'll be about election time. So just putting that out there for people to consider.
Right.
How another grassroots movement that's just got strategic timing. I don't know. Anyway, so what else is going on?
No, I mean that's a big one. I mean there's not 18 days left to the midterms. I mean it is obvious if you've watched any of the news that well, one thing for the next couple of weeks we are going to have no shortage, continue no shortage of
Oh God,
content. It's
and
like,
it's true because there could be an issue or issues that haven't yet been brought to light between now and election day that might actually be
well,
impactful.
we've
So,
got that. We have this Saudi thing going on.
yep,
We also have the fact that Robert Mueller, apparently Rob Rosenstein has talked to Rob Mueller and said wrap this up. And he's saying right after the midterms he's going to produce his report, which is interesting.
yeah,
The Because I mean, there's been no more. I mean, short of the few small indictments like the Papadopoulos guy and a few others, there's not really been in Manafort and that one going on. There's not really been a lot going on. It's kind of
yep,
fallen off. Like old Daniels there. It's kind of, I'm not gonna say her first name, and it's kind of fallen off the radar. Everything's about these 18 days. You know,
yep.
both sides are trying to gen up their base. Midterms are not usually, really heavily populated with voters. Number one, number two, only 3 times in our nation's history has the administration, the present administration, kept power in the House at midterms, that the power did not flip over. Only 3 times. The latest time, I think if I heard it right, was 1982, Ronald Reagan.
Reagan. Yep.
There was another time I think in the 70s, and then the other times go back in the 1800s that the administration in power kept power at the midterms. So kind of odds are stacked against it.
But
There's a lot of the coffers are overflowing with donations on both sides. You watch the races at the state level. There's the pollsters and the people, depending on again which media outlet you watch, they say different
yep.
things. But I just kind of go back to, well, they all said that Hillary had it in a bag too, so they, you
Well,
know,
yep.
I don't know, it's the really the only poll that matters is the votes coming in,
Correct.
right?
We'll
Um,
see and like I said, there still could be a thing or two that comes up. Maybe Trump's gonna, declassify that stuff at a strategic moment, or something else will happen.
yeah.
They can swing it another way. So there's a lot that could still happen.
Well,
And
ironically, right? You've got remember before the presidential election, we had the Robert Mueller thing, like oh, we found some more emails on Wiener's laptop, and then oh no, they're not
yep.
really it, and everyone blamed that. And now the other day they came out and said that they have found that the DNC and Hillary's campaign obstructed. A federal judge came out yesterday and said they obstructed their request for information about her servers and all that kind of stuff, and they've come out and said no, they can't believe that Cheryl Mills was given immunity and this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost like the same around 3 weeks or so right before the election, right? Now right before the midterms, you've got the declassification that could happen. You got the stuff with Saudi Arabia. The Dems are saying, hey, get us back in power. Well, one, Pelosi and them are saying we're going to win. They're already saying they're going to win, but they kind of said that 2 years ago too, so I find that very funny.
Exactly right.
I think they're doing themselves in, because when they say that, I think it makes Dems stay home, go, we're going to win anyways. We got this in the bag. Why do I need to show up? Which is what happened to them
Yep.
before, right?
Yep.
So I like the better approach. I think the GOP has a better approach, which is, hey, unless you want all this stuff reversed, unless you want everything to stop, you better get out there and vote, because they're going to shut this down for the next 2 years, and they're going to launch. All they're doing is launch investigations, and they're going to try to impeach Kavanaugh. They're trying to impeach the president, and Washington is going to spin into a cesspool deeper than it already is. So it's the messages that they're figuring to give out. I guess we're just going to continue to see those and get just bombasted with those over the next 3 weeks. But yeah.
Yep, it's going to be interesting. I tell you what, if nothing else, it's going to be interesting, and every day is going to be something else. So
Nice.
at least we're not bored, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, Rob has a great one here. He's got a new drink recipe, Doug. It's take a shot of Jameson, Irish whiskey, but tell everyone it's tequila. Call it the Beto O'Rourke.
oh my God, promote that man immediately. That's brilliant. That is brilliant.
So you go to your bar with your friends. You say, you guys want to do shots of tequila? You go, yeah. You tell the bartender, give me 4 shots of Jameson. Everyone shoots it. And they're like, this isn't tequila. Like, no, we're just gonna call it tequila. It's Irish whiskey, but we'll call it tequila.
Oh my
We'll call
God,
it the
that's
Beto O'Rourke.
fantastic.
That's good. That's good. Thank you, Rob. That's
That's
top notch.
brilliant,
Yes.
man.
But yeah. In fact, want a real drinking game? Do that on election night while you watch the news. Every time they say his name, because they're going to be calling that one left and right. They're going to be.
Oh yeah, if Rob, you're out there, if you're going to run for office, just make yourself Roberto, and it's going to be huge.
Yes.
So
there we go. So no, we'll see what happens. It's amazing though. You watch the media, right? Yesterday was the president's gonna or 2 days ago the president's gonna fire Mattis. Now today there's this talk of John Bolton and General Kelly, the chief of staff, getting a screaming cussing match outside the Oval Office, and it's like man, they just and some of that may be true, not be true, I don't know, but it's suspicious because it's like they are literally grasping at every straw they can to make it look
absolutely
like there's something going on.
Absolutely. And to your point, that's interesting. You just said grasping every straw they can. There was an article, I don't know, on one of the sites saying that because this back to the Saudi thing is such a big deal, they, being I guess big media, has run out of arrows in their quiver. I guess everything they've tried hasn't worked, so now they're diverting all their attention to this. Like this is like,
Well, think about it, man. The Mueller thing never produced. Russia collusion thing never produced. Nothing ever happened.
It didn't pan out. Yeah, it didn't go according to plan.
Went to Kavanaugh. Everything about Kavanaugh. Nothing happened. They couldn't stop him. 11th hour, they pull out this allegation.
Didn't go according to plan.
And then they started pulling out other allegations. And then it was a week. And then we need more than a week. And they did everything they could and couldn't stop it. And it came down to Susan Collins and Jeff Flake and all this stuff. And now look what they're doing to Susan Collins. It's like they have fallback positions, right? Primary,
supplemental,
yeah.
They got that's exactly right. They got defense in depth. All yeah.
And they got FPF set up, right? FPF is fire every bad thing we can say, get everyone on message to do whatever.
It's incredible, but we'll see what happens. But I don't know. We'll see what I think it's going to be very interesting, and you guys should have a show. You guys should just have a running show on election night.
Yeah.
Just have this running, and just
Well, we it's a Tuesday night. That's a good idea. I may talk to Toby.
I know.
We may have to have a special election night coverage. We could roll people. I could get Jimbo in. I could get Dave Bellavia in. We could just roll people in.
Just have a rolling, and then have a drinking game associated with. Certain key elections that you guys are kind of focused on. I don't know.
Yeah.
I got all these great ideas, Troy. But,
you are. That's why I said at the start of the show, man, you were an inspiration to me as a young lieutenant, running the gun line. And I always had a hot cup of coffee for you. But anyway,
I appreciate that. And you had some Korean ramen and some salmon jerky ready for me, which I greatly appreciate.
Yeah. So Rob just told me someone that you've met that we know. Remember Crispy 11B? He was we did the movie premiere for Range 15, and we all went to dinner after. Remember Crispy? Big guy with the big truck. He had the scars on him and all that kind of stuff. He got pretty blown up, pretty banged up in Iraq.
Yeah.
He actually came up with that. He gets credit for the drink name, so that was Crispy that came. Who's Crispy is actually right in Florida right now. He got a new. Rob may know, was his 104th surgery or something. He's got a prosthetic. I mean, he got banged up good. And I just saw him put up on Instagram that he is back in Florida getting his like 100 and something. I think 104th surgery.
God love him, man. Because oh man.
Yeah, but
here's to you, man.
Yeah. So hope he's recovering well. So hey, Doug, we've been going an hour 20.
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
Time flies when we're together.
We've only talked a few topics, but there's still no shortage.
I know.
Thank you for everyone commenting. Their comments were coming in now. Great stuff from Mandy, from Rob, especially.
You guys are great.
Everyone else joining in. We had some good numbers tonight. Joe Esperanza, if I said your name right, I hope. If not, Toby will do push-ups. Yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in.
Roberto Cicente.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
Roberto Cicente.
He's going to be the next. He's going to take over Beto O'Rourke's congressional district over there near El Paso.
Because Cicente, there's no way you can call that Irish. Like, there's no way.
No, you can't. That's no way. There's
Yeah.
no confusion there.
And I bet if he checks his bloodline, he's more than 1,124th Native American.
Oh man,
we didn't even get into that.
We didn't even get there. We didn't even get there.
No.
Oh man, that's a whole other hour right there.
Oh, he's Italian. Italian. Italian is Latin.
As long as it sounds.
Here's the connection.
Italian. You're still good to go.
Italian is Latin. Right? Latin came from Italian. Latino. All the Hispanic languages are rooted from Latin. It's like you're from Mexico, Rob. You
totally can claim that, dude. Because I'm sure you're more than 1,024th Mexican.
Yep. Exactly. So we didn't even get there. Doug, you look very Native American to me. I do have some Cherokee Indian in me, as I've always been told my truthful parents. And
you have high cheekbones.
I have high cheekbones. That's all it took. So we didn't even go there. You know, she's a joke, and she's done more damage to the Democratic Party than Hillary has, I think. So
to your point, there was some talk that she's a paid operative for the GOP. So maybe she's doing some sabotage. So I don't know.
Sabotage.
You be the judge.
Okay, there we go. Well, I don't know. Or she's just an idiot. But because she's so full of herself.
Never underestimate the incompetence.
Well, one thing about our president, he can bait anybody into something, right? He can egg people on and make them lose their mind.
Absolutely.
But
he can lure them in an ambush site.
He can. He does, and they see the flowing blonde hair, and they got to go see what it is. But anyways, all right. Well, again, thank you everybody for coming on. Thank you for everyone tuning in, listening, welcoming us into your homes. Doug, thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome. Toby, thank you for having me, and God bless everyone out there. Thanks for joining.
Absolutely. And everyone have a good night, and we'll see you guys next Thursday here on Stu and the Nunn.
Take care, and God bless all.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Stu and the Nunn Radio. We hope you enjoyed your time with us because we have enjoyed sharing our time with you. Be sure to check out stewandthenunn.com in addition to asking us questions and interacting with us on our Facebook page and Twitter. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on Spreaker and Facebook Live. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Warrior Media Solutions, PoohHammer.com, Veteran Outdoors, Graybeard Publishing, and Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Thank you again, and have a good night.